In the perpetually mist-draped town of Blackwood Creek, nestled deep within a valley that sunlight seldom touched, the locals spoke in hushed, fearful tones of a legend as old as the town itself. They called it the Shrouded Figure, a spectral entity said to manifest at the crumbling crossroads where the old cemetery met the forgotten logging trail. This hooded being, they whispered, appeared with the toll of the midnight bell, a silent, ominous sentinel standing amidst the skeletal branches of ancient oaks. Its purpose was unknown, its origins lost to time, but its presence was a palpable dread that seeped into the very foundations of their homes. Stories varied, passed down through generations, each telling a slightly different version of the encounters. Some claimed it was the ghost of a hanged man, forever bound to the site of his demise. Others believed it was a grim reaper, a psychopath waiting to guide lost souls. But all agreed on one chilling detail. To witness the figure was to invite a curse upon oneself, a darkness that would cling to your shadow until it consumed you. Into this miasma of folklore and fear stepped Nathan Hayes, a photographer whose reputation was built on capturing the ethereal and the macabre. Nathan wasn't a ghost hunter in the traditional sense. He was an artist, obsessed with the aesthetics of decay and the haunting beauty of the supernatural. He saw the world through a lens, and his life's ambition was to capture a single, undeniable image of the paranormal, an image that would blur the line between reality and the spectral plane. The tales of Blackwood Creek and its shrouded figure had reached him through a cryptic email from an anonymous source, a simple message containing a grainy map and the words, "It waits for you." For Nathan, this was an irresistible summons. He packed his high-speed, low-light cameras, his tripods, and his array of specialized lenses. Feeling the familiar thrill of the chase, the intoxicating pull of the unknown, he arrived in the town as dust painted the sky in shades of bruised purple and gray, the mist coiling around the tires of his Jeep like spectral snakes. The town itself felt like a relic, its wooden storefronts leaning wearily against one another, their windows like vacant eyes staring out into the gloom. The silence was profound, broken only by the distant cawing of crows and the faint, mournful whistle of the wind through the pines. He checked into the town's only inn, a creaking establishment run by a weary-eyed old man who looked at Nathan's camera equipment with a mixture of pity and suspicion. When Nathan mentioned his interest in the old Crossroads, the innkeeper's face paled. "Some things are best left undisturbed, son," he'd rasped, his voice a dry rustle of leaves. "That place, it holds a memory, and it doesn't like to be reminded." The warning, however, only served to fuel Nathan's determination. Fear was merely the prelude to discovery. That night, as the town clock began its slow, heavy chime toward midnight, Nathan made his way to the cemetery. The air grew colder with each step, the mist so thick it felt like he was wading through a chilling sea. The iron gates of the graveyard groaned in protest as he pushed them open, the sound echoing unnaturally in the oppressive silence. Headstones, tilted and moss-covered, jutted from the earth like broken teeth. He found the crossroads described in the whispers, a nexus of decay where 4 dirt paths converged beneath the gnarled canopy of a massive dying oak. He set up his equipment with practiced efficiency, his tripod planted firmly in the damp soil, his most sensitive camera pointed directly at the heart of the intersection. The final bell of midnight tolled, its vibration seeming to hang in the air, a deep, resonant hum that settled in his bones. And then he saw it. At first, it was just a distortion in the fog, a patch of darkness that seemed to absorb the faint moonlight. Slowly, it coalesced, taking on a form that was both definite and terrifyingly indistinct. A tall, gaunt figure stood there, draped in a heavy, tattered cloak, its hood pulled low to cast its face in absolute shadow. It was utterly still, a statue carved from solidified night. Nathan's heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the silence. This was it. The moment he had chased for years. His hands, slick with a cold sweat, moved with autopilot precision. He adjusted the focus, the faint click of the lens, a deafening intrusion in the sacred quiet. He held his breath, his eye pressed to the viewfinder, framing the perfect shot. He depressed the shutter. A flash of brilliant white light momentarily bleached the scene, searing the image of the figure onto his camera's sensor. But in the split second of darkness that followed the flash, a whisper, colder than the grave and impossibly close, slithered directly into his ear. It was a voice made of rustling leaves and cemetery dust, a sibilant hiss that bypassed his eardrums and resonated directly in his skull. "You will take my place." A paralyzing, soul-deep terror seized him. He stumbled back, his hands fumbling with the camera as he tried to look at the preview screen. His fingers felt numb, clumsy, as if they belonged to someone else. The screen flickered to life, displaying the photo he had just taken. But the image was wrong. It was horrifyingly wrong. The shrouded figure was gone. In its place, standing exactly where the apparition had been, silhouetted against the ancient oak, was himself. He was looking directly into the lens, his face a mask of frozen shock, his eyes wide with a terror he was only just beginning to feel. He looked up from the camera, his gaze darting wildly around the empty crossroads. Nothing. The figure had vanished as if it had never been there. But the whisper still echoed in the hollows of his mind, a venomous promise coiling around his sanity. The cold he had felt before now intensified, a glacial chill that began in his marrow and spread outwards, turning his blood to ice. He felt a strange detachment, as if he were watching his own panic from a great distance. The edges of his vision began to blur, the mist swirling and thickening, not just around him, but inside his head. The world dissolved into a gray, formless void. The next morning, the sun finally broke through the perpetual mist, its weak rays casting long, skeletal shadows across the graveyard. Sheriff Brody, a man who had seen his share of strangeness in Blackwood Creek, was called to the scene. A hiker had reported an abandoned vehicle by the old cemetery gates. At the crossroads, amidst the dew-dampened leaves, they found Nathan's camera, resting pristine atop its tripod, its lens still aimed at the heart of the intersection. There was no sign of Nathan himself. No footprints leading away, no signs of a struggle. It was as if he had been erased from existence. Back at the station, Sheriff Brody powered on the camera, his brow furrowed with a grim sense of foreboding. He scrolled through the photos, shots of the misty town, the gloomy inn, the decaying headstones. Then he came to the final image. He stared at it, the coffee in his hand growing cold. The photo was a masterpiece of horror. In the center of the frame, bathed in the ethereal glow of the camera's flash, two hooded figures stood side by side in the swirling fog. They were identical in their spectral stillness, their faces lost in the impenetrable darkness of their cowls. They stood as silent partners, ancient sentinels guarding a terrible secret at the crossroads. One was the legend the town had always feared. The other was its newest member,